Medicine is one of the most competitive courses in the world, and so the application process is naturally very vigorous. If you're watching this video, then I'm assuming you're interested in applying for medicine in the UK. Now this video is for those of you in year 10, 11 or 12 or equivalent who want to know more about the application process for medical school. I want to share with you the ins and outs of the application process so you can understand what it takes to apply and hopefully plan your future to achieve your goals. Hi, my name is AliMahdi. I'm a year 13 student studying biology, chemistry and maths at A-level. Now I've managed to achieve all my medicine offers and will be studying medicine at the University of Nottingham in September. So I want to share with you a sort of guide for the application process based on my own experience over the past couple years. Now the first stage of the application process is your GCSEs. So what subjects do you need and what grades do you need? Now most universities ask for at least a grade 6 in maths, English and the sciences, with some universities asking for a 7. So before applying, it's important to research on each university and see what they require. The next stage is A-levels. Now almost all universities require you to have A-level chemistry, and many require A-level biology. But it's important to, again, look at the university and see what they require. Personally, I'll advise doing both chemistry and biology at A-level to open as many doors as possible when it comes to apply. The next stage is work experience. So why is work experience so important? So first of all, it helps kind of gain experience and an insight into the career so you kind of know what you're getting yourself into. It also shows to the universities your motivation to study medicine and your willingness to learn more about the profession of a doctor. Now on a more personal level, I feel like work experience is very important to actually understand if medicine is the right choice for you. Now it would be a huge shame if you went through 5-6 years of medical school to find out that it's actually not the right fit for you. So being able to understand actually what the job of a doctor entails is so important before you actually apply. Now the next stage is super-curriculars. Now you may have heard of extracurricular activities, whether that be sports or music, for example. Super-curriculars are the more academic activities that you may do over and above your A-level or GCSE curriculums. So for example, running a medical society or writing an essay for an essay competition. Super-curricular activities are so important, when coming to write your personal statement. So you can talk about the things you've done and what you've learned from them and how they make you suited for a career in medicine. Super-curriculars are also so important when you get onto the interview phase of your application process. So you can talk about the things you've done, just like you've done in the personal statement, but go into more depth about what you've learned and what lessons you've taken from your experiences. Now again, on a more personal note, super-curricular activities are honestly really important and help you develop key skills to help you in your future. For example, if you were to, lead a society, it will help, develop your speaking skills, which helps not only in the short term in your medical school interviews, but also during the life of a doctor when you're talking to patients or a large group of people. Now, the next step of the application process is a personal statement. Now, before I talk about the personal statement, I'd like to note that those applying for 2025 entry, the personal statement will not be there anymore, and it's going to be replaced with a multi-question form. I'll leave a link in the description below to a news article detailing this. Now, the personal statement is a 4,000 character essay detailing your personal qualities on why you think you're suited to the course and the profession, because ultimately you're applying to be a doctor at the end of the day. Now, within your personal statement, you should use reflections on your experiences, both medical and non-medical. For example, your work experience, volunteering, super-curricular activities, and extracurricular activities. Now, the personal statement is submitted in the middle of October with the whole of your application. The next stage of the application process are the admissions tests. There's 2 admission tests for medical schools in the UK. There's a UCAT and the BMAT. Now, most universities use the UCAT exam, while I think about 8 universities use the BMAT. So that being Cambridge, Oxford, UCL, Imperial, Brighton and Sussex, and Keele for international applicants as well. And there may be a few more that I'm forgetting. Now, first of all, the UCAT. So the UCAT is a cognitive ability test, which is computerized, and it's very similar to CAT tests you may have done in previous years at school. Now, the testing for the UCAT occurs anywhere between July and September of the year of your application, and you can sit this whenever you want within this time period. There are 5 sections to the UCAT. There's the verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, decision making, abstract reasoning, and the situational judgment. The first 4 sections that I mentioned are scored out of 900 each, giving you an overall score of 3,600. You get a band from 1 to 4 for the situational judgment test, 1 being the highest and 4 being the lowest. I can give you more tips and tricks from my experience of the UCAT in a later video. The BMAT exam is sat in October, straight after the application goes in, and it's on a fixed date, so everyone does it at the same time, and it's a written test. You also apply to BMAT universities blind, so you don't know how well you've done before you apply. So they may say it's a bit of a gamble when applying to a BMAT university. The BMAT is a more science-based exam with an essay question at the end, showing your critical thinking skills and your English language skills as well. To maximize your chances of getting into medicine, I would suggest to definitely sit the UCAT exam, because most universities require the UCAT. And if you're set on applying to a BMAT university, then sitting the BMAT would be a good option too. If you were to only sit one of them, I would definitely suggest just sitting the UCAT. Now, the next stage of the application process is interviews. Now, interviews are anywhere between November to April. I know this sounds like a really long period of time, but it varies for each university, and so you can check each university's websites for more information. There are 2 different styles of interviews for medical schools. There's MMI and panel. So MMI stands for multiple mini interviews, which is essentially what the name suggests, a series of many different smaller interviews. There could be MMI stations asking about your perhaps skills, your experiences, your motivations to study medicine, perhaps asking you about the qualities a doctor may need and how you may have them. But I can go into more depth on the MMI and also the panel interviews in a later video. Now, the panel interviews is your, typical standard interview in which 1 to 4 interviewers are interviewing you and asking you, a series of questions followed by follow-up questions, and it's more conversational, and it lasts, anywhere between 15 minutes to 45 minutes, whereas the MMI is a series of stations that is anywhere between 3 to 10 minutes each. Now, there are pros and cons to both the MMI and panel interviews, which I can talk about in a later video. This was just a brief overview of what the entire application process entails, rather than tips for applying. But in the near future, I'll go into more depth into each of the different stages of the application process and give my top tips from my own personal experiences. I hope you're now more familiar with how the medical school application process works, and you kind of understand the timeline behind applying to medicine. If you'd like some tips on the medical school application process, please feel free to subscribe for future videos on how to apply to medicine and the different stages of the whole application process. Or feel free to comment and I'll answer any questions that you may have.